Hello, target audience. So today we've got something special for you guys because I got this wonderful Facebook message from a good friend of mine, Fred. You might remember him because he was in the 2-year video. He's this guy. What a sexy beast. Anyway, he's organized a society. I have my laptop outside. And it's called Escape the HUD, and it's a charity event where people try and hitchhike as far away from the university as they can, which I think is an awesome idea. So he emailed me and he wanted to know if I could give him a few tips on hitchhiking, because I have done a fair bit of hitchhiking in the past and it's really fun. I absolutely adore hitchhiking, but looking on YouTube, there's very little internet resources about how to hitchhike, you know, the tips, the tricks, the insider knowledge. So that's why I'm outside. It's a beautiful day, so I decided to do this one in the park. And I've made myself a little list of things to talk to you guys about hitchhiking. So we've got an educational video today. Here's the deal. I'm gonna talk a little about my personal experience regarding hitchhiking, but if you want to skip right to the tips, tricks, and techniques, just click right here. And it'll like fast forward the video. So if you don't like hearing me talk, just click on that or go watch a different video. It's all good. Anyway, section 1. Why I hitch. So last year I did a student exchange to Australia. I had an absolutely wonderful time. But the thing was, I was pretty poor. And I decided to go to Tasmania, and that's where I hitchhiked for the first time because I wanted to get into the wilderness, but there were no buses going in there. You couldn't get a taxi. There was no way into the wilderness, so leaves only one option: hitchhiking. I was a little nervous. It was, you know, I'd never done it before, and it ended up being really fun. So it was a passion that grew on me. I'm not a hitchhiking master. I added up, you know, all the numbers and stuff. In total, I've got 42 lifts from 42 different individuals, all of which I didn't know beforehand. I've only hitchhiked in Australia and New Zealand before. In total, I've hitchhiked a couple thousand kilometers. My best, in 24 hours, one time I managed to hitchhike 1,200 kilometers. So that was really good with 5 lifts. So that's my personal best. Anyway, that's why I hitch. What's awesome about hitchhiking? Hitchhiking is a really incredible social phenomenon where you're essentially you're gonna introduce yourself to the stranger you've never seen before. It's a little intimidating, but it's just a really wonderful thing. When you see a car stop for you, you're always so excited to meet the person inside. And it's just really nice to see this random amalgamation of 2 lives. And I'm really all for it. I think it's a great experience that everyone should try out. So this is section 2. Is it dangerous? You knew this question was going to come up. Is it dangerous? I looked online, tried to find some statistics on hitchhiking deaths, see if I could find any hardcore data, because I'm a science student, so we like that stuff. There's nothing. There really is nothing. In my personal opinion, there's obviously an inherent risk. I mean, of the multitude of people that pick up hitchhikers, there's bound to be a few out there who, you know, have a screw loose or two. So when you hitchhike, when the car pulls up in front of you, I mean, if you really don't feel comfortable with the person, you can always say no, or you can always tell them, oh, I'm actually trying to go elsewhere, never mind. So you always have the option. And I mean, I hitchhiked with 42 people, as I said, and out of those people, I never felt intimidated by them once. I never felt uncomfortable. I talked to a friend of mine who actually gave me a whole bunch more tips, and he's hitchhiked a lot more than me. He's hitchhiked all the way from Montreal in Canada down through the States to Mexico, to the Guatemalan border and back up. So that's hardcore hitchhiking. He said that he's also never felt uncomfortable. The people who pick up hitchhikers are the nicest people you'll ever meet. And I mean, so many good things come out of hitchhiking. You make friends, you learn things, you get to talk to people from completely different social backgrounds, cultural backgrounds. So it's a really, really amazing experience. And I'd say if there are any risks, they're very minimal. And I think the media has stigmatized hitchhiking so much. They've really blown it out of proportion. Sure, in the past, there's been extremely, extremely rare incidents in which bad stuff has gone down, but they're so blown out of proportion by the media. So regarding is it dangerous? My opinion, no. And you should do it because it's fun. And now we get to the tips and tricks. So the first thing we're gonna discuss, pay attention everyone, get your notebooks ready. We're gonna discuss where to hitch. So location-wise, when you hitchhike, the spot is the most important thing. Oftentimes, just exiting a city is the best location. On the edge of a city, right before the highway starts, is a really good location where they're turning off onto the highway. That's an ideal spot. Hitchhiking on a highway is also possible. It's a little tricky, but it's doable. If the highway is really congested, the more traffic, the harder it is, obviously. There's sort of this ideal traffic load. If there's too much traffic, people can't really pull over when they want to, so it becomes pretty difficult. But if there's too little traffic, you'll never get picked up. Like, ideally, you want cars flowing, you know, but not like back to back. You know, you want a little bit of space between each car, so then you have a chance. So when you hitchhike, you find this location, you don't want to be too far into the road, you don't want to be like in the middle of the road or else you get run over. But by the same token, don't be too off the road or else you'll be like in the bushes by the side of the road, and that's bad because they won't notice you. So sort of like jut yourself into the road a little just to let them know you're there. Stick out that thumb and look confident. Other good locations, gas stations are great. If you find a gas station just where cars exit the gas station and turn onto the road, great spot. Toll booths are also good. My friend, I've never hitchhiked from a toll booth, I've only done gas stations, but he said that's actually a really good spot because people actually have to come to a complete stop at the toll booth, so you know, you could be like, hey, you headed in this direction, and they'll often pick you up. So that's a good location too. Anywhere where cars are gonna have to slow down is good. One thing I've noticed, surprisingly, really, really long, dead straight stretches of roads technically don't work actually. Try and avoid them if you can. I think the reason is, like, as cars are driving, they see this little person getting bigger and bigger. Maybe it's a little ominous for them. Maybe they're like, oh, this is sketchy. They're in the middle of nowhere. So generally, I've tried to avoid long stretches of road. I find they don't work as well. Like, where the road curves, after a curve works better than just a long dead stretch. But sometimes it's a little unavoidable, so, you know, it doesn't really matter. When I was filming outside, I totally forgot to mention one of the most important things: make sure the car has sufficient room to turn off. So sort of make sure like you're not on a bridge or something stupid. Look behind you and make sure behind you there's enough room for the car to pull off the side of the road and stop. Very important. Alright, so now we get to what to do when you're at that location. When you're by the side of the road, you're jutting yourself out a little. You know, look confident, stick that thumb up with pride. A good tip my friend told me, which is totally true: no hats, no sunglasses. You want to look as little... There's a kid who just went by on a bicycle. It's a lovely day. So you want to look as nice as you can. You want to look as presentable as you can. Try and like, something like this is good. Just try and look, you know, don't put on like 20 layers. Don't look like a crazy person. Try and give the best impression you can. So yeah, stick your thumb out. The first time you do it, you'll feel silly. I did. You feel kind of like, oh God, what am I doing? But as soon as a car pulls up to you, it's the best feeling in the world. You're just like, oh my God, I hitchhiked. This is amazing. It's really fun. So yeah, so look presentable, number one, best thing ever. Smile, smiling's important. Give a genuine smile, don't give a forced smile. Don't look like a serial killer, don't be like, you know, give like a nice genuine smile. It can get discouraging if you're not getting picked up after a while, but keep that smile on, you know. This is a really good trick. This is one of the best tidbits of information ever. My friend also agreed this is a great way to get a lift. When, like, you'll get scowls from people as they drive by. A lot of people will just like look at you like, what are you doing, you hippie? And other people will just like give you a nod of approval but won't pick you up. You get the funniest looks from people as they drive by. But as they drive by, even like as the car's approaching you, if you notice it's not slowing down and you know it's not going to pick you up, just turn your thumbs up into a wave and like give them a wave and just nod to them. So like, just like that, you know, or just like this or something. Like, give them a gesture of approval. And a lot of times actually, either if they had a really bad opinion of hitchhikers, it'll warn them a little. They'll be like, oh, he looked like a nice guy. He wasn't angry that I didn't stop. So in future, maybe they will pick up hitchhikers. And if you're really lucky, occasionally they'll reconsider. They'll be like, oh, you know, he looks like a nice guy. He just gave me a gesture of approval. I think I'm gonna pick him up. So oftentimes the person wasn't gonna stop. I'll do this little like, you know, don't worry about it, man. It's cool. And they'll stop. There's a plane flying overhead now, so it might get a little loud. So I'll wait till it goes overhead, actually. Did that? Yes. My friend's here, and he's like giggling because he finds things I say funny.
Just one thing.
So that's a really good trick. Always, you know, be friendly to people, even if they give you the worst scowls you've ever seen. Sometimes people can also be jerks. Like one time this guy stopped, and I was like, yeah, I got a lift. And I went up to the car, and then he drove away. And I was like, oh. But, you know, don't worry about it. Don't let it be discouraging. If you're by the side of the road for a while, and you're not getting lucky, like after half an hour, just start walking, and when a car comes, like turn around and keep walking and do the hitchhiking gesture. So I'll kind of demonstrate that now. Okay, so like you're doing, like, you're walking in this direction, and then you turn around and you just do this while walking. And then if the car goes by, you just like do the nod thing and then keep walking in the same direction. So people, for some reason, when they see someone walking, they're like, oh, you know, he's trying to get somewhere, I'll help him out. That works a lot. I remember one time I was waiting somewhere for like an hour, and I tried that, got picked up right away. You can also get picked up by trucks, which is really cool. Except the first time I got picked up by a truck, I didn't know how to get back down and I fell out. They're like really high off the ground. Anyway, so that's a really good technique. What's up next? Signs. Regarding signs, this is a big debate between hitchhikers. Some people insist you need signs. Other people say you don't. I think there are benefits to both. On the plus side, if you use signs with the location written on, you'll definitely get people going to that location, which is nice. But other times, it just becomes a little bit of a hindrance. I generally don't use signs. If you are going to use a sign, though, make the writing super large, because that's really important. Really quickly, two things I forgot to mention before. One, regarding the legality of hitchhiking. It's legal in most places. In Europe it's legal almost everywhere. There's a few places in the world where it's not, but even where it's not legal, no one really cares. Worst comes to worst, the police might come and just tell you to move to a different spot. That's really the worst that can happen. So don't really worry about legality issues. And also, hitchhiking solo is really easy. Hitchhiking 2 people is fairly easy. It's a little trickier. You'll generally wait longer. Hitchhiking 3 people, it's doable. It's hard. But yeah, enjoy yourselves. Everyone has their own technique and style regarding hitchhiking. It really is an art. Generally, when I was nearing the end of my trip hitchhiking up the east coast of Australia and New Zealand, I was really good at it. I generally get lifts like under 10 minutes even. In New Zealand, they're really nice too, so they pick me up really fast. So go enjoy yourselves. Alright, so I was just going to leave you guys with a few really cool stories about the adventures I had. I got to see some of the most amazing places I've ever seen, and I got to do it for virtually free. I used resources like couchsurfing.org, and I'll put a link at the end of the video and in the description below. And also I did free camping, which is just setting up my tent by the highway wherever I was. Oh, one other thing to know, you can't hitchhike when the sun goes down. It's virtually impossible. So the second the sun sets, go to sleep, wake up the next day in your tent, pack up and get going early. You shouldn't have a problem. I also have found occasionally that I would get a lift like right before the sunset. I'd be like, oh, I'm gonna have to set up tent, the sun's almost set, and then someone would pick me up. So don't give up. So some of the people I met the most amazing people. I got picked up by someone when I was hitchhiking to Central Australia, and he was this British guy who'd sailed all the way from Britain in a yacht and bought the shittiest car you've ever seen and was now driving around Australia. Really cool. I met a theoretical ecologist who said, I'm a physics student, and he said that I could work with him in Germany if I ever needed to. He was from Germany. I met an Indian guy in New Zealand who said that we could meet up in future and I could stay with him in India, so we're gonna try and meet next year. I met this cool math teacher she was from East Australia, and she's the coolest math teacher ever, and actually we're still in touch. I have her on Facebook now, and we're good friends, and you meet the coolest people. I met this guy who builds prisons. I met the craziest people. I got picked up by an RV once, and it was people from all over the world, and they were like, oh, where are you from? And I was like, oh, I'm from Canada. They're like, nice, we don't have a Canadian yet. And you meet the coolest people. So it's a really fun way to get around. So that pretty much sums it up. I hope you guys learned a lot. I hope this was educational, and just a few links to help you guys out. I'm gonna put a link up here to a good documentary about it. It's a little amateur, but it still gives you a good overview of the practice. Over here, I'm gonna put a link to hitchwiki.org. There's a plane going overhead, so this might be really loud. Hitchwiki.org, great place. It also tells you if you're stuck in a city, it tells you a good way to take buses to the outskirts of the city, because you can't really hitchhike in a city. It's pretty much impossible. You have to go to the outskirts. And lastly, this is couchsurfing.org. Not really related to hitchhiking, but if you're not already a part of it, best way to travel. Absolutely best way to travel. Those 3 should get you started. I hope you guys have learned a lot, and get out there, hit the road, stick your thumbs up, have the time of your lives. Peace out, boys.